Stay back with the trees from my Grow Up Bonsai kit that I started back in 2020. And I actually didn't realise I haven't updated this in quite a while. This kit grew really well and I got a lot of seedlings from it. And basically I just tried to shove them all into this one big pot. Although they didn't all fit, so I have another birch that's grown on its own. And then of course I have the black pine as well. And I've done videos on them separately over the last few years. But this sort of mass grouping here, I've kind of ignored it. So it's going to be quite a long update today. I started the kit inside, but I didn't really have space to keep it there. So at the end of the year, as winter was approaching, I placed it in the shed, and obviously here you can see in spring 2021, it's outside and that's just where it lives now. So really they're all about a year old here and they're going into their second growing season. And as you can see, it's early summer and they're all awake. I'm sure you can't remember, but basically I just shoved everything into this big pot. The kit contained silver birch, downy birch and alder, and a few other seedlings for some reason I'd started too. They were all too small to know what was what, and I didn't really worry about that. My plan was just to sort them out later. But of course you'll see it's summer here, and I obviously didn't repot them. I just wanted to leave them alone and get them as strong as possible, because it's their first year outside, and as you can see they did grow really well. They're all similar enough that it shouldn't really be a problem. And I also wanted to give them some time to grow so we'd actually be able to tell which ones are which. So you'll see in a bit I didn't quite do that very well. Basically I looked at them here and could see the differences, but I kind of forgot the leaves would fall off over winter and all just look the same. So yeah, that will come back to haunt me in a bit. Anyway, in September they're starting to shut down and you can see some yellowing starting. We don't seem to get much of a autumn colour, but that's fine. The main thing is they've been growing very well this season. Sometimes when you move stuff outside they slow right down, but these guys have done excellent. It's probably at this time in February in 2022 when I realised I couldn't tell them apart anymore. And I couldn't remember what ones were what. Also the little pot was another pot I used at the time, as I couldn't fit everything into this bigger grey pot. Basically I ran out of room in the big pot, and then I had to place a few extra trees in this little one. There seem to be 2 alders, I think. But anyway, there's a video coming on them in the next few days. But there's a bit of a crossover here. They're all kind of mixed together and all from the same kit. I wasn't really sure back then what was what, or what I was doing. Anyway, at this point I think I need to repot the trees as they've now been in this pot for 2 years. And there's a lot of them, and they've all grown well, so it's probably very busy in there. In March the buds are starting to swell, so it's time to repot them. The plan was to get everything out and remove everything and then get it rearranged. When I put them all in here, I hadn't really done any root work. And I kind of just placed them in straight lines almost, which isn't ideal. The plan back then was just very much plant them up and see what survived, but it seems a lot of them did. And I think keeping them in this pot as a sort of forest planting seems like a good idea. I certainly don't have the space for them to keep them individually. You can see some of them are almost in leaf, so it's certainly the right time for this. Annoyingly, a lot of the footage got lost. I can't remember what happened. I think my phone said it was recording, but it wasn't. I started by removing the ones that were not part of the kit, like this one. Can't remember what this was, but it wasn't from the grow kit, so I put it elsewhere. And then that one there with the leaves, it's a Cotoneaster, I think, so it needs to be out of here as well. And then I just basically separated everything out. And I don't remember, but I assume I pruned the roots and then repotted them all in sort of a forest configuration. If I remember rightly, the roots weren't too bad for being young seedlings. And then here I had them all lined out on the floor to see who was the biggest and work out how to arrange them all according to size. But then this is where the camera broke, so we don't really see anymore. But you can all watch me pot up this Cotoneaster. So just imagine this was the other trees together, all in that rectangle pot, and you'll kind of get the idea of what happened. It's annoying. I'm pretty sure I would have struggled to repot all those trees into the one pot. You know, usually as you put one into position, another one falls over and it's a bit of a mess for a while until you get everything kind of in there with the soil, so you don't get to see that disaster. Anyway, here we are after. But the big problem is that some of the trees in this forest are not the same species and I've no idea what ones are what. I was pretty sure it was only 1 or 2 that were different, so I wasn't too worried. I could easily remove them next year. And then if I'm right, it should only be birch in this pot. In May, everything was pretty much in leaf, so we can start to see what is what. It also looks like the trees are going in every different direction. This looks weird, but it's just the first few inches of the trunks that made sense. I was more worried about that than where the long tips were going. So the first tree that shouldn't be here is this one. I think this is a little one I removed before and told you I removed it. I mustn't have been too sure what it was, but at least I placed it in the corner so it can be easily removed next time. And this one here I'm certain is an alder. It looks very much like the two other trees that were in the little pot, so really this one needs to be with them. And then if I try and compare it with the birch next to it, you can see it's a very different size and shape. So that's a little bit annoying, but it's just another year of waiting and then I can solve that easily. In June, everything looks healthy and all those branches are going off in crazy angles. I've started to grow more upward and looks a bit more respectable now. In July, it looks fine. It's not much yet, but it's young. And you can see from above that most of the trees in there are birches, which is good. This was the summer where nothing really grew in the garden, and I don't think they actually put on that much growth. But they do look healthy and tall enough for young trees, so I'll take that. I also decided here that I probably should mark what is what. Otherwise I'm going to get to late winter and I won't remember. So if we look at these two leaves, they're very much different. But let me get this third leaf in. I can't tell if it's different or not. The kit had alder and 2 types of birch, so I can't tell if I'm looking at 3 different types of leaf here or not. The 2 bigger ones are kind of similar, so it's hard to know. But either way, they can be removed in spring. One of them is certain is an alder, and the other, well, I think it's a birch. Its leaves are huge compared to the others. My way of identifying them is going to be pretty simple. I just tied some string around the base. Not very tight, just in case it swole up. But now it's on there, when it comes to spring, I'll know which ones need to be removed. In September, the birch are starting to shut down. So I think those other 2 are both alder. They do look very similar here. I'm not sure if the birches are the silver birch or the downy ones. They all look very similar, so I'll just assume they're all the one type. I don't think they're a mix, but who knows. And then as the year comes to an end, everything slowly shuts down. Finally, we're in 2023 and everything is still asleep. But you can see now how they all look kind of the same in winter. The 2 that need removed have ever so slightly different buds and bark texture, but I wasn't confident enough to be sure last year. They're a little bit more clear now they're older, and of course my string will keep me right. So as soon as he starts to wake up, I'll get them repotted. In March, nothing's happening yet, so I'll just have to wait. In April, it looks like things are starting to happen. And spoiler alert, the 2 trees that were in that tiny pot were put into a flower pot last year. But you'll see all of that in a few days' time in the other video. For now, the goal is to get the 2 trees out of the grey pot and get them into the red one. My plan is just to remove whatever needs removed and try not to disturb anything else. A lot of these are looking almost open. I don't know what happened, they must have just burst open pretty much overnight. It doesn't matter, they shouldn't really be getting disturbed too much here. And here's one last look at the leaves, so you can see they're very different. This all came out of the pot really easily. It's a nice block of roots. Luckily this one's in the corner. I must have thought it was maybe not a birch and placed it there. So this will be easy to get out. Same for the other corner. I think that's a little rowan tree. And the last one was kind of at the middle, but it was also at the edge, so that worked out well. The main structure of my forest wasn't really disturbed at all. So now they're all removed, it should just be a birch forest. And then I just stuck everything back and basically filled the holes in with fresh soil. I didn't even mess with the roots. That'll be a 2024 mission. I'm kind of hoping everything starts to mesh together and I can just prune the edges like I've done with my privet forest. So that was an easy operation, and here they are after, finally all separated out. Here in May they look healthy enough. I've also just realised I've never pruned the top of these trees, and that's going to continue for the rest of this video. I just left them to grow all season long. That might be another mission for 2024, but for now they're all fine. Some of them have certainly grown a lot more than others, but I placed them in a way that the strong trees are in the middle, so it works well. It's very much a bunch of long twigs in a pot, but I like it. It has potential, and it's still pretty young, so there's a long road ahead of it to actually get somewhere good. There's some good growth in July. I can't complain at all. It's doing really well. I'm just happy I've finally managed to get them all separated out into individual species as such. They all look very similar too, so I don't think they are a mix. I think they are just either the silver or the downy birch, which is unusual. The kid said I had both, so maybe in a few years' time I'll be able to tell them apart. I might need to reshuffle things then, but for now it's fine. In September it's starting to look like it's shutting down, so that was a good 3 growing seasons in this one video. I'll try not to wait too long for the next one. I'm not sure why it got missed out for so long, especially since I know a lot of you have the same kit. It looks very windy in October. It's annoying it doesn't seem to give us a good autumn show, but you can't have everything. And here we are in November. A few yellow leaves are hanging on there. And here we are now, where it's shut down and just have to wait now to spring to do the next little work in this forest. But so far so good. Thanks for watching, see you next time.